Hello again, welcome to the 2 December 2016 edition of Portsmouth This Week. I'm your host, Doug Smith, and our guests today are Anna Riley, our Superintendent of Schools in Portsmouth, and Rich Rayner, our Town Administrator. Welcome both of you back to the show.
Thank you.
We love having you guys on anytime you want to come to talk about stuff.
Sure.
I think what we want to talk about today is the idea of shared services between the school department and the town. And I just wondered if we could start with, how did that come about, and you know, where are we going with this thing?
Sure.
So I think Rich and I are both relatively new to Portsmouth. I'm in my third year. I think Rich is in his second year.
Going to my second.
Yep. So part of having good relationships, I think, between town and school is that the two of us talk a lot, spend a lot of time together, and we look for ways to support each other's work. The school department is a large chunk of the town's budget, and I think that requires us to have lots of conversation and to make sure that we are traveling in the same direction, I would say. And I think for Rich and I, as we've built our relationship, we've talked about how can we make things better? What are some efficiencies we could have? And I think that's something that both of my school committee and Rich's town council has been kind of encouraging us to do. What is it that we could streamline? Can we make things better? So I think we've tried to work at some of those.
Yeah, we had an opportunity last year. We knew that there was going to be a change in the facilities organization over at the school, and we don't have the expertise on the town side to do all the facilities management that we're required to do. For instance, the amount of money that we put in just to manage the HVAC system in Town Hall added to the custodial service costs for Town Hall, that equals a salary. So it just made sense to let's explore what kind of possibilities are available to us. And once we started that discussion, the ball just started rolling. We couldn't stop it. And it really became, once we decided that we wanted to pursue something, this was kind of low-hanging fruit I saw. How do we strategize that, and how do we mitigate the concerns? What stakeholders did we need to reach out to? So we got the unions. We got to the unions, talked to the school committee, talked to the town council. Plenty of people came into town hall on my side to address their concerns. And once we allayed everybody's concerns and highlighted the benefit to the town, we were able to run with it. Now that we've shown a success on this part, I think that's going to be a springboard for us to kind of explore other areas where we can combine or at least collaborate.
I frankly think the fact that you guys are relatively newcomers to town is a good thing, because you see it with fresh eyes, and you can think outside the box a little bit. I think it's great. I think everybody in town thinks it's great, because it's eventually going to come down to tax issues. And the first area that was looked at was information technology, IT. How's that working out?
Yeah, you know, we wanted to get the facilities management piece on track and running, and use that as a success story, as I said, so that we can springboard into something else. The next area that we're going to run full force into is IT. We've started that. We've got the IT departments from both the town and the school together. Now, it's a bit of a misnomer to say that the town side has an IT department. What we do is we have an IT contractor, JKS Services. JKS is great, but as his business is expanding and growing, we're concerned that, you know, maybe that's going to detract from his devotion to the town. So just like we had on the facility side, we got an excellent opportunity here to let's explore something outside the box. And Ann and I have been talking for a long time about how we can do that. There were some things that had to happen on the school side, and once the stars aligned, we were able to push forward on that. The timetable is to have the school IT department transition to adopting our IT services in Town Hall by March, and then JKS Services will maintain the public safety side, so DPW, fire, and police.
Anna, I know you teach IT in the schools, and you use it a lot, certainly. What kind of IT resources do you have at school that can help?
So what we can do to help is we've restructured. We had some openings in IT this year, and so what we did a similar thing with when we posted our new custodial positions is we were clear in the posting that those custodial positions may work in the town hall building or in one of our school buildings. And so when we hired our 2 new computer techs, we put in the posting a similar thing. You may be asked to do work in any of the schools or the town hall building. So that was kind of our first hurdle. So now we're able to do that. And so we do in IT, especially for the kind of IT support I think that Rich will need to start with at the town, it'll be more technical support. And so we have a ticket system, and the town hall building will just be included in our ticket system. And so that way, they'll be just put into the queue. And so we're going to watch that from March to June and look at what that does to the workload, and then figure out if we can manage it with the staffing we have, or if we'll need to look at maybe an extra tech person or half-time tech person. We also have the benefit of we are able to get some great interns from Roger Williams sometimes, from URI other times, who do this kind of work. And so that's kind of another way to get some of this labor done, because they're looking for that experience.
Well, I have something like that. I call him a 13-year-old.
Well, we've also talked about starting a student help desk and including our students in this workflow, because it's some great hands-on experience for them. But it also, some of the easy stuff, I know, I'm going to admit to this on camera, that sometimes I call and they say to me, did you try turning it on and turning it off? And sometimes that's enough to fix it.
But you need somebody to tell you that, though.
When you're harried and you're trying to get something done, it certainly sometimes isn't what you think of. So.
Rich, are we the only town in Rhode Island that doesn't have a full-time IT person at the town hall?
I've not done a survey, but I think all towns have addressed this in their own way. It's just kind of developed in Portsmouth. Technology is exploding, and when it was just a matter of setting up computers, workstations at people's desks, that could all be handled internally. But now we're talking about cloud storage, we're talking about servers, we're talking about IP switches, we're talking about the Ocean Fiber network. It's just become too complicated for the staff in town hall. It's not our core function. So we either have to hire somebody or we have to hire a service. There's already an organization at the school. Let's try to tap into that and see if that works. And like Anna said, we're hoping to have this thing launched in March. We'll evaluate it for the rest of the fiscal year, and then hopefully we'll have a clear idea of what we need to do in June.
Yeah, I know a lot of the things that our new town clerk, Jennifer West, was talking about, was trying to put things online so you could automate them, people could file forms online, et cetera. I think people need to know, though, it's not just admin stuff. Police and fire are really enmeshed in this thing, and so if that connection to that fiber optic cable, for example, slows down for some reason, we need to find an IT guy to get that back up and battery.
Yeah, it's the level and quality of service, but it's also the security of the system that is extremely important.
A lot of threats out there.
So and we do have the resources on the police side that monitor this, but that equates to what security systems, what firewalls, what virus protection systems, what ransomware protection systems do we have in place, and that's just not within the scope of who is working in town hall.
Yeah. Well, good luck with that one, because we're all dependent on that in some way or the other.
And I think we're pretty good at that on the school side. I mean, student safety and protection is always at the top of our list, and our folks have gotten a lot of training, and but it's always changing. Even though they've worked and they've gone to trainings and they're ready and they've got ways to protect the students in our system. Then something else happens.
But
so
it's like
ongoing.
It's like everything else in the tech world. Windows, Office Windows. You just get used to doing it, and all of a sudden they come out with a new version that's totally different.
Yeah, it's a work in progress.
Well, that's good. And that's kind of what it should be, because the technology is a work in progress as well. I know another area that you were thinking about at one point was finance, because both the schools and the town have finance directors. Where did that go?
I know that was brought up when I first came on board. This has been a big discussion within the town hall. the reality of the situation, the towns that have done this, it's a burden. It ends up becoming a greater burden than it is keeping it the way it was. These are two huge separate budgets, and they have different priorities. For one person, one finance director to manage both of those, not only do they have to be a bit schizophrenic, but now you're asking a person, we have 2 town hall meetings a month, we have 2 school committees, now that's 4 nights a week that they're tied up doing this, and you're pulling this person at 2 ends. I've talked to folks in Westerly where this was done. The finance director ended up leaving. She was very dissatisfied with the way the system is working. We have talked to finance directors in other towns. They have recommended against it. We have talked to our own staffs. I guess the comment would be, what is it that we're fixing? Nothing's broken, in the sense that we have 2 very well-organized, well-functioning finance departments that are catering to 2 different needs.
Yeah.
Even our reporting systems are very different. What's required by DOR and what's required by
Absolutely.
RIDE
In fact,
are
I read that
completely
somewhere, that
different.
there's so
Yeah.
many differences in this thing. I think the idea was simply consolidating jobs.
Right.
And the thing is, like you say, though, it's in some jobs it doesn't really pay to do that. And it sounds like that's one of
on the
those.
town side, we're not, what jobs, you still need somebody to take care of payroll, you still need somebody to oversee the budget. We're not talking
Yeah, so
about
it really wouldn't work out that way.
a large
Right.
number of people. So I'm not sure where the gain would be. So we understand where the committee and the council want us to go, and this is one of the reasons why we're thinking outside the box. Well, this is not something that is really a good idea, but where are the good ideas?
Right.
i.e. facility management, IT, and then some other initiatives that we're going to try to put forward next year.
And we're doing really well. We've been really, I feel like our audits have only gotten better. We have a great system. We talk. Our finance departments are in communication.
What a
They
concept, huh?
work, yeah, they work really well together.
do.
And I think they've found efficiencies in those working
Yeah.
relationships. So it's not like we said, this isn't going to work and that's the end of it. We've just looked for other ways to improve those relationships and make sure that we're in communication, because lots of our funding travels through the town. And so it is important for us to have that dialogue and to make sure that we're operating in a manner that makes mutual sense for both groups. And I think they do I think both of our finance departments have really done a good job of that.
Every town is unique. Portsmouth, I think, is exceptional. And one of the things that makes Portsmouth exceptional is exactly what Anna was just saying. We have an excellent relationship between the town and the school. We have regular meetings. We communicate almost daily. Everything from finance to facilities to IT, these are things that are on the table, but it's also all the other stuff, personnel, what our priorities are, crafting early priorities to set a foundation for budget building. These are things that are always on the table every day between Anna and me.
Well, I've been in Portsmouth a little bit longer than you, not like some people like Bob Hamilton who have been there all his life, but I have to tell you that it wasn't always like this, and I applaud what you guys have been doing. I think what the average citizen in Portsmouth, the average resident, would want is for you guys to be working as closely as it appears you are. So thank you for doing that. As I say, 5-6 years ago, it was not like this. And I think you guys have made light years of progress here. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Sure,
And I
you're
think
welcome.
I'd include in our team, we also have great relationships with Chief Lee and Chief Cranston
correct.
from the
Yeah,
police
we
department.
just
and the
have
fire
great
department.
people in this town.
It's a great team, it really is.
Go back, not to harp on it, but the facilities management piece, when there was so much consternation over what were we trying to do, were we trying to take away jobs? And I think we've demonstrated that we are people of our word. No jobs were lost. All we did was make things better, and we did not steal anything from DPW, and since we've implemented this, the relationship between DPW and the schools has
That's
become
right.
even stronger.
Yeah.
That's true too.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about that facilities management thing. I know in your budget proposal, when you proposed the budget last year, there was a whole separate section about this whole idea of a single facilities manager doing this stuff.
Okay.
How would that work out in your mind? I mean, how do you see this evolving? Would there be one person? Where would they be?
Yeah, the facilities manager, I don't want to speak for Anna, the person has been hired, contracted, and he works for the school, but he takes over. Right now, the focus and the charter was concentrate on the schools first, because he came in the summertime, get the schools up to par, and demonstrate to the school rank and file that this is not we're not putting measures in place to take jobs away. Then we had to get, as Anna said, the other piece of the pie was allowing workers who are employed the opportunity to come over to the school, because we had contract issues. Now that we've solved that, the facilities manager can start now transitioning to taking over the facilities management at Town Hall, and that's already begun. They've already tagged all the systems. They've identified what preventative maintenance needs to be done, what scheduled maintenance is due, what the life cycle of equipment is, and that will be rolled into their maintenance plan. And then the next piece will be the work ticket order system, and then working with DPW
That's
to
what I was
start
going to
doing
ask, how they relate to DPW.
Well, stealing everything from
Sure. No,
Anna,
it's
but,
Maybe it's a work
we'll
in
be-
progress. I don't know.
Well, it is, but it's well underway. Now we're starting to develop a snow removal plan. This year, DPW will do the school administration building, and then developing the plan for what equipment is needed and what plans need to be in place for this to transition to the rest of the schools next year. And that's all happening between DPW and facilities management, which is exactly what we wanted to happen in the beginning. So where this person works for the school, reports to Anna's organizational structure, but also keeps, imagine a dotted line that goes off the org chart to the town administrator, and it's working very well so far.
Sounds like a very interesting concept. Do other towns have similar things like that?
Yeah, before we did this, we did a lot of research. Member Chris from the school department and I went and observed this in Westerly. Also went to a town in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, where this has been put in place. And then we had extensive meetings with various outfits that offered these kinds of services, and then we put out an RFP, and then we selected
That's
who we
great.
selected.
We're down to almost 2 minutes left, believe it or not. And the other question besides shared services that I wanted to ask you about is we now have Senator Jim Seveny and Rep. Dennis Canario, both from Portsmouth, longtime Portsmouth folks. How does that impact, or do you have any ideas of what your legislative priorities may be? You know, one of the things, for example, is state aid to schools, which is a no-brainer. But what else would you guys like to, what kind of wish list would you guys have?
I have not talked to Anna about this, but I think one of the things that Mariano is pushing is the reduction or elimination of the car tax. But that has second and third order effects that not a lot of people are talking about right now. Portsmouth is a town where obviously everybody has cars, most people own their homes. If we lose that car tax revenue, that's over a $2 million hit to our budget. That will have to be made up somewhere, and it will be made up in property tax. People who don't own their homes obviously will receive a windfall in the sense that they're not paying a car tax, but a landlord is only going to raise their rent. So it's going to come from somewhere.
Yeah.
So something needs to be done. I understand that they want to do something about the car tax, but something is going to need to be addressed with respect to what's going to happen to towns that lose all this money.
Yeah, I understand that not very much stays with the state, so they don't really care too much.
It comes to us.
Well, that's why we have Jim Seveny and Dennis Canario. You know, talk to those folks because they're close to home here. Anything else? We got 30 seconds. I mean, any other gigantic topics that you'd like to, I know there's probably a lot of them. I'd just like to say to you guys on behalf of the entire crew here, I wish you guys and your families a very Merry Christmas and a happy holiday season. And stay out of trouble, Rich. And, okay?
You got it.
Do my best. I'm trying.
And please come back, you know, more frequently. We'd love to have you guys on, because we actually find out what kind of is going on in the town.
Thank you.
So thanks very much. Well, again, we're back with a second segment of this week's show. Our guest today is Ray Antaya, the new recycling coordinator for the town of Portsmouth. Welcome to the show, Ray.
Thank you, Doug. It's a pleasure to be here.
I wonder if you could, before we start talking about the actual changes and things to the transfer station and other things like that, I wonder if you could talk a little bit about your background and how you came to be here.
Sure. I've been living in Portsmouth now for about a little over 18 years, so I guess I'm one of the new kids on the block. But prior to that, for the last 2.5 years, I was the zoning enforcement officer for the town of Portsmouth, and I got to meet a lot of the townsfolk as a result of that. And prior to that, I even had an appraisal business. I was a residential appraiser, and I've appraised quite a few homes in Portsmouth as well.
Well, I think just the fact that you've worked inside the town government is a real plus.
It has helped me. I'm familiar with the systems, and so I think it helped me to jump right into this position. And
yeah, I think you've got a tough job because what was it, 2 days ago or yesterday, the Daily News editorial column about the whole recycling issue and saying how we're doing so poorly compared to many of the other communities. I wonder if you could address that. How poorly are we doing, and why do you think that is?
well, there are multiple reasons why our recycling numbers have gone down. A lot of the C&D, the construction and demolition materials, were being put into the trash bin. There was a reason for that. Litigation has occurred in the past with folks slipping into these open containers. And in speaking with the operators of the transfer station, J.R. Vinagro Company, they realized that it was the open containers and people with the potential for people to slip and fall that they then started to put the C&D into the trash. So that skewed our numbers. It increased our waste material, and proportionately the recycling material was reduced. And so we're currently at 18.7%. But I think there's a number of factors that go into why the recycling has come down. The open containers, when you first come in, it's a little bit dangerous for folks. Some of the older residents in town, there's that slippery metal incline that they have to get up and get down, and it's a bit of an inconvenience, as well as it's often a traffic jam there.
Yeah.
So we had to look at, first the safety, traffic issues, convenience to our residents, as well as increasing our recycling rate.
This is actually a matter of money, because I understand you need to have a recycling rate of greater than 25% to get any kind of rebates from the state. So it has some effect, at least, on the town's bottom line.
Absolutely. We're looking at a minimum of 25% to get $1 per ton off of the tipping fee. The tipping fee from Rhode Island Resource Corporation in Johnson right now is $32 per ton. It's projected to go up. The last estimate I had was around $50 per ton. And so it behooves everyone in Portsmouth, because recycling is mandatory, to recycle as much as they can, because that will, lower our costs eventually and lower the cost of the sticker price.
Yeah, I think hopefully this new scheme, which we're going to talk about in a second here, will make it a lot easier for people to do that kind of stuff. Why don't we take a look? We got a couple of graphics here, and it may be kind of hard to orient our viewers, but this is a view of, if you want to point out, this is where you come in, right at the bottom.
This is Headley Street, and you're coming in, and this is the station as it exists now. So everyone's familiar with the 4 recycling containers. You have the 2 for the plastics and the bottles, and the 2 for the cardboard. This is often the source of a traffic jam, if you will. I, as well as many other people, have been almost halfway up into the industrial center for
Yes, it does get like that.
with traffic. Our hope is, in removing these 4 bins, it became obvious to us that the traffic would be a lot easier, and we still have the 2 containers, one for trash, one will now become for the mixed recycling, and you have 2 lanes to come through. We think that this is going to become a much faster and a much safer method.
Okay, well, let me go to what the new scheme is going to look like, and I wonder if you could point out the same features. What are people going to see when they come in?
As they come in off of Headley Street, they're going to notice right away we're going to have a new swing sign out in front. That's going to be an announcement board for whatever projects that we're having and recycling efforts we're trying to make. But as you come up, All of this is going to be repaved. The transfer station, there are holes in some of it.
Yes.
It's all going to be repaved, I believe, next Tuesday, and we're hoping to have some new lines put in. You're going to see a sign that's going to direct anyone with just trash and recyclables to go to the left. It is essentially going to be an express lane. You're going to be able to drive right in one easy stop. You can drop your trash and you can drop your recycles into an easy stop and drop location. And this is what mixed recycling is going to be all about.
Okay, so what can you mix in recycles?
What everyone is putting right now into the bins outside, the plastics,
Both.
the bottles, cardboards, you can do them together.
So paper and all that stuff.
All of that can go into the bin. What we caution folks, and what's important to remember, is that no plastic bags of any kind go into the mixed recycling. And if they could possibly take their cardboard boxes and dump it, if you can break the box down, fine, because that's just going to take up space, and every space counts when you're hauling material. But you can drop it all, so it'll be so convenient for the folks to just go, drop everything into that recycle bin, and drive right out.
Okay.
And we're going to have 2 lanes to do that. We do want to let folks know that they have what we call diversion bins off to the right. Anyone that has larger materials, metal, mattresses, propane tanks, C&D materials, will be directed to go to the right. It takes a little longer for these folks to get rid of their materials, and that hopefully by being directed off to the right, we're going to have more space now in the middle, that those to the left can have a quicker avenue to get in and out. But we do want to speak to the yard waste, because up until now the yard waste is where the recyclables are going to be. The yard waste will now be outside. This is for the use of Portsmouth residents only, not for the commercial landscapers. The yard waste bin right now fills up very quickly.
Very quickly. Sure.
Very quickly. And by right, all of the larger limbs, they shouldn't be any larger than 2 inches in diameter. They should be cut into 3-foot bundles and wrapped. They'll be able to take them and throw them into a smaller bin now outside. But the guards have been alerted to keep an eye on this, because we don't want to have this become an abusive situation where the landscapers are coming in and dumping everything. So we think with everything being diverted off to the right, and a simple express stream, if you will, going through the building with the recyclables and their trash, just like they do now.
Now, has there been any thought to e-waste like we used to have?
Absolutely, absolutely. But not here at the facility. We have Indy Cycle, who picks up e-waste twice a year from Portsmouth, as well as other communities around town. The last one that was, I forget the date, but we had over 16,000 pounds of e-waste taken away, and we just had over 2,000 pounds of e-waste.
It used to be very convenient to just take it there. Let me ask you quickly, we're almost out of time, but when are the changes going to take place?
This is scheduled to take effect December the 12th.
December 12th.
And so this is a week from Monday.
Yeah, okay.
So we're all get up.
All right.
I mean, in consultation with the recycling committee and Vinagro, we're all on the same page with
this. Is super. Good luck to you, and I hope it rolls out as you say it is. And have a great Christmas.
Thank you very much, sir. You too.
Okay. That's it for me, Doug Smith. We'll see you next time.